Tomorrow marks 20 years since Hurricane Katrina made landfall in New Orleans, Louisiana, and it is the costliest natural disaster in U.S. history. While the storm did not impact Houston directly, it did bring fear to Texans when another storm formed just a month later, taking aim at the Texas coast. Of course, I am talking about Hurricane Rita here. One of the biggest challenges with Rita was what people had just witnessed with Hurricane Katrina, which was so devastating in Louisiana. No matter how different our topography is or what officials said, the images from New Orleans were fresh in everyone's minds. Fearing the same disaster here, an estimated 3.5 million people fled the Houston area. Just look at that traffic there. Cars turned highways into parking lots. Millions of people evacuated. So even running out of gas in some places in the sweltering heat. In fact, the evacuation led to more deaths than the actual storm. Our chief meteorologist, Anthony Yanez, is talking about what went wrong.
We saw the traffic just become overwhelmed. Everybody left at about the same time.
It was 20 years ago. Hurricane Rita, a Category 5 in the Gulf of Mexico, is moving to the north, and it felt like, everybody who remembers this from 20 years ago, it felt like everybody evacuated. Mark Sloan was here. He is now the emergency manager for Harris County. What do you remember?
Well, it was an interesting time because we had just gone through Katrina and sheltering for thousands of individuals that were here. The traffic, people were actually reacting to what had happened in New Orleans. They were trying to save themselves, but we created another disaster within a potential disaster.
You see the images on TV of it felt like everybody leaving. What is going through your mind when you see those images?
We need to do something in order to get these people to a safe location. And we really didn't have a hurricane evacuation plan at that time. That was the first session that it was implemented, a voluntary or mandatory evacuation. Everybody left almost at the same time. 3 million people got on the roads to protect themselves and their families.
I'm looking at this. I remember this image like it was yesterday, and this is chaos.
People were running out of fuel. We had stranded vehicles. We couldn't get first responders to people. And as an after action, and the plans that are now in place are more effective, easier to implement. It proved out in actually Hurricane Rita, or excuse me, from Rita to Hurricane Ike. We had to evacuate. It was staged, it was calmer, people understood, and it worked well.
When you look 20 years later, this was the evacuation zones during Rita. What are your recollections about this map?
That this was actually one of the big cue cards that was up there to help explain to people that if you live in the blue area, you need to leave. But defining the blue area had not been done. It was just a visual, and how far from the coast am I? Do I leave? But we were evacuating not just blue, but the yellow and the purple as it shows up. And then we started thinking about it afterwards is, you know, there's people that don't know the difference between the blue and the purple areas. It was a lesson that we will look back on. And even 20 years later, I think that it's a good story to remind people to have a plan for themselves, their families, make sure that their property is protected, and don't forget about your pets.
And because of Rita, the evacuation map was changed to color-coded zip codes that you see today. It's much cleaner now, and clearer now who should evacuate and when. Also, the new evacuation routes have gas stations, traffic control, and emergency responders to take care of families. And for those of us who were here 20 years ago, we know people not in an evacuation zone left too. Cities like Katy, Tomball, and the Woodlands, people there evacuated. Rice University conducted a study after the storm and found that if your neighbor evacuated, you left too.